It was once said that there's a supply and demand problem with hate crimes in America. That's why Jesse Smollett has to pay a bunch of black Nigerians to beat him up and claim it was white MAGA supporters. It's, of course, why innocent people have to go to jail because George Floyd overdosed on fentanyl. They have to make up and manufacture hate crimes in order to keep the outrage machine going. The SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, is one of those groups that is constantly grifting off the fake hate crimes here in America. And there's just not that many, mainly because of the way that America was founded. Because America was founded by moral, Christian, European men who fought wars to eradicate slavery and who simply wanted to live peaceably on their own property and mind their own business. This is how this country functioned for the last 200 years. It was primarily 90% European and Christian, and most people just wanted to be left alone. So there really wasn't much in the avenue of hate crimes at all because the country just peacefully lived with itself. But in the last couple of years, libs have decided they could make a ton of money by manufacturing these crimes and by shrieking about a problem that really just doesn't exist. They're victimhood merchants. And the SPLC is, of course, chief among them. And they have now been federally indicted, called out for manufacturing hate crimes. Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen. And the entire narrative is coming crumbling to the ground. It is glorious. DOJ charges Southern Poverty Law Center with fraud amid denials of civil rights group. What's going on here? What happened was the Southern Poverty Law Center has been exposed for funding the hate groups that they claimed to be fighting. It's one of the single all-time greatest stories I have ever seen. It is finally the Trump administration striking at the heart of the deep state and the organized left-wing fraud and outrage machine. Get a load of this. DOJ charges Southern Poverty Law Center with wire fraud, false statements, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. The SPLC secretly funneled $3 million in donor funds to violent, racist, extremist groups, the same extremist groups that they claimed to have been fighting. The Ku Klux Klan, the American Nazi Party, the Aryan Nation, United Klans of America, Unite the Right. Unite the Right. Unite the Right. Wasn't that like the Charlottesville rally? Isn't that the rally that Joe Biden constantly claimed that he needed to run for president because he saw the Unite the Right rally? So wait a second. All of that was funded by the left. All of that was created by left wingers. It was all completely manufactured. Oh, yeah. Apparently, some of potentially your favorite alt-right figures, as it's become known, are wholesale funded by the SPLC to the tunes of hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's what the indictment charges. To hide these payments, the SPLC allegedly opened bank accounts under fictitious entities to conceal the source and to control the donor funds. Per the indictment, an SPLC field source was a member of the online leadership chat group that planned the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, made racist postings under SPLC supervision, and helped coordinate transportation to the event. Cash Patel said they lied to their donors, vowing to dismantle violent extremist groups, and actually turned around and paid the leaders of these violent extremist groups, even utilizing the funds to have these groups facilitate the commission of state and federal crimes. Oh, man. If these charges stick, they'll destroy the SPLC forever. They'll break it up, the entire organization will be charged as a criminal organization. There'll be no more SPLC, which would be one of the greatest things, which would be arguably the greatest accomplishment of the Trump administration thus far. The SPLC is a hate group. Ladies and gentlemen, it is, of course, illegal to do this, and it's an ongoing investigation against all individuals involved. Cash Patel is saying here, the charges include wire fraud, false statements to a federally insured bank, conspiracy to commit and concealment of money laundering. The SPLC allegedly engaged in massive fraud, operating to deceive their donors, enrich themselves, and hide their deceptive operations from the public. They lied to their donors, vowing to dismantle violent extremist groups, actually turned around and funded those extremist groups and operated them. Oh, this is one of the biggest charges. This is one of the biggest bombshell stories in the history of America. Federal grand jury charges Southern Poverty Law Center with wire fraud, false statements, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Where was this grand jury? Oh, it's in Alabama, ladies and gentlemen. They were doing their homework here. They brought the charges in Alabama, of all places. 11 counts. So they're going to have to tell an Alabama jury, where this is a state where every single person in the state has a relative who was indicted during January 6th Fed PSYOP hoax. You're going to have to try and explain to a jury why you were funding the hate groups that you claimed to be fighting with the SPLC. Oh man, they were cooking on this one. Look at this. Hundreds of thousands of dollars paid to KKK members, to Aryan Nation, to Aryan Nation right here, affiliate, 300,000. Unite the Right member got $270,000. Unite the Right. A reminder that this Unite the Right is the same one that every single lib used to try and run for president in 2020. Joe Biden said it time and time again. It was Charlottesville. That's why I ran Charlottesville. That's the op. SPLC is funded a large number of false flag right-wing organizations and events. This is a total scam. For the first time ever, Trump attacked the heart of the deep state. Look at this. Gives me new respect for Jesse Smollett. He bootstrapped his fake hate crime and paid for it himself rather than having the SPLC organize it and fund it for him. Support your local mom and pop hate crime hoax operations before they're all put out of business by the big guys. While raising hundreds of millions of dollars from neurotic left-wingers via direct mail, stoking fears of surging hate groups, the SPLC literally paid somebody more than $270,000 to organize the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. They are paying money to the entities that they claim to be battling against. If accurate, the SPLC was literally funding and coordinating the hate surge that it used to solicit funds for their operation. The whole organization was a con job. SPLC bankrolled Charlottesville white supremacists. Oh, man. And everyone thought these were feds. It turns out they were just the SPLC. So the SPLC was funding the extremist groups that they were pretending to fight. Nobody is surprised. The SPLC was simultaneously funding violent extremists, raising money to fight those extremists, and advising law enforcement on how to arrest those extremists. Insane corruption. This would likely make the SPLC and their leftist donors the largest funders of the KKK and Nazi parties in America. It would mean that they funded these groups, which resulted in acts that they used to get more donations. This would mean that there wasn't enough organic extremism for them to exploit, so they needed to fuel it with their own cash from left-wingers. Think about that. Wow. So, yeah, all these people that were arrested, all these people that were given slaps on the wrist, all these people that were never touched by the feds, they're feds. They were being paid by the SPLC. What a plot twist. The SPLC was funding the KKK. Democrats always have. It's a conspiracy theory coming true in real time. The SPLC was one of the most powerful censorship forces in the country, lavishly supported by many big American companies for years. It's astonishing and deeply concerning. I'm generally averse to racial epithets, but hypothetically, how many slurs do I have to say to get somebody with SPLC white supremacist slush fund money? Oh, man. The excuse offered by the SPLC was they were merely paying informants as part of their investigation into hate groups. And this is bullshit, of course, but it also goes to show that groups like the SPLC have operated as a quasi-government agency despite having no legal authority to do so. And we have been living under a tyranny, not just of unelected judges and bureaucrats, but also activist organizations. We've known this for a very long time. The Charlottesville hoax was a complex hoax from top to bottom. Totally and completely vindicated. And just, by the way, a reminder that these people were constantly attacking Charlie Kirk. They listed Charlie and TPUSA on their hate map. They used this fiction to monetize the ensuing hysteria and funneled the proceeds into Charlottesville and other convenient vehicles, and probably most likely getting Charlie killed in the process. SPLC knowingly created a hit list they could sell to their donors, put the lives of conservatives in the crosshairs to do it. These are not actions of a charity. Yeah, these are actions of an evil organization. Here's Charlie describing what happened to him and why this organization needs to be burned to the ground, metaphorically and legally, of course. Here we go.
The Southern Poverty Law Center has now labeled, you're in the club with me, by the way, they've labeled Turning Point as a hate group.
Yes, it's a
coming
surprise.
From a hateful group like
it's a surprise it took them so long to get us on the list.
What took you so long, Charlie?
Understand that they're literally putting high school chapters of ours on a hate group next to the KKK and next to neo-Nazi groups. And I mean, we can laugh this off. There's an element to this. Remember that there was a shooter that went to the Family Research Council years ago, inspired by the SPLC list. This is them trying to make us basically surrender at Turning Point USA. We're going to do the opposite, and our students are only going to lean in even more. But they can't debate us on our ideas. They cannot have dialogue. They cannot actually go onto the merits of why they are right or why we might be wrong. Instead, they must smear us with the age-old one-liner that you are a racist or that you are a hater. And they're finally realizing the power of Turning Point USA, which is why they put us on
Well,
this
when you're
list.
Effective, you're a threat, right?
That's
so
right.
they called me the high priestess of hate, right, Sam? Is that what they call me? I'm just...
Congratulations.
2008. Oh, it's old. It's so old. But again, the Democrats, I think they appeal to a certain very whiny man.
That's right.
It's like the pajama boy, whatever they're calling them.
You remember that Obamacare
yeah,
advertisement?
I never forgot that guy.
It was the archetype of the liberal
What they
man.
think a man
Yes,
is.
that's right. Never standing up for yourself, very feelings-based, no assertion, no drive, no grit. Almost always pandering to the zeitgeist of the times, where it turns out, especially in the heartland of this country, the American man is still alive and he wants his country back. And they showed up in record numbers for President Trump, and they're rejecting the Democrat Party. They're the backbone class of this country. They make the country work. They're largely forgotten. And the Democrats spending $20 million on video game advertisements.
Let them spend the money.
Let them burn that. By the way, if they think that's what it's actually going to take to win back young men, maybe you need a message and a messenger that they can relate to.